Good morning. It's about 5:42 a.m. here on the West Coast, and this is Aquarian Solutions. We're taking a look at the shadow as it's moving almost 2/3 over the moon here, December 10th, 2011. The last total solar eclipse till 2014. It's a brisk 41 degrees here. As we approach the exact full moon, the moon will be at 18 degrees, 10 minutes Gemini, which, interestingly enough, per Sabian symbols, is a large archaic volume. And we've been seeing that not only are many of the truths, revelations, and facts being made public now by the so-called elites, whoever they may be, although some people think there's probably only 300 such people in the entire world, or 13 families. Everything's changed since October 28th, 2011. Basically, you just can't hide anything. The unity wave is such that many people are aware of the types of plans and things that have been done in the past. So what we've got is the Earth's shadow covering the moon. And here in the west, we can just see that shadow just totally engulf the moon. I mentioned in my blog last night in my previous video that here on the West Coast, Sagittarius is rising. So I've got a very ebullient, optimistic, enthusiastic sign rising. And it's rising with the North Node. So that is where we're going. Are we heading to adventure? Yes, we are going into Adventureland for sure. Yeah. And in the 7th house, of course, we have the moon in Gemini conjunct the South Node. So lots from the past is going to be churning up for many people, as a matter of fact. But I've told my friends who are mutable signs, primarily Gemini and Sagittarius, be ready. If you're born near the middle of the month, this should be quite exciting. And the big deal is Sagittarian, the centaur, the archer, is symbolized too by a T-square, where Mars here on the West Coast is in the 9th house, heading towards midheaven. And in the 4th house we have Ceres in Pisces, and lots will be dealing with the ocean, Piscean energy of movies, video. I'm probably one of millions of people filming this eclipse. And the eclipse is visible also across Asia, Central Asia, and particularly Jerusalem. I'm not seeing the famous, infamous blood red moon yet. It's starting to tinge a little bit, but in Jerusalem it's a big deal. In fact, a lot of religious zealots will be talking about this and how this is a progenitor to war. It's the next step. But it is quite spectacular, all in all. So, the antithesis would be the area in Israel where Gemini would be rising with the south node. And as we all know, there's a lot of conflicts going on, and they seem to be reaching some type of culmination or turning point with this full moon. The last total lunar eclipse was June 15th, 2011, this summer. Not visible like this here on the West Coast, but still very potent. The other thing that you might want to note is that heliacal star Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, is rising both here, Washington, D.C., the UK, and Jerusalem. The setting star is different, of course, for these locations, but primarily here on the West Coast, it is Algol. So we have a double, and the one we're talking about with Antares is obsession, very obsessive and passionate energy. Algol, of course, is known as the demon star, the blinking star, and it also deals with a very focused kind of passion or rage, if you will. But it's the type of thing that can motivate people to compose something on the order of a Beethoven symphony or to paint a masterpiece. It's not all evil, although there's many places. In the case of heliacal setting star Algol, we look at the energy of being in a tremendous crisis and trying to stay cool, although it's like going off a cliff, even though you're aware of it. Most obvious is the General Custer phenomena, where he had his men at the Little Bighorn, kept them there even in the course of massacre. So we've got two very, very potent rising and setting stars, and at the point is Bellatrix, which is another warring kind of star, or very, very active. Also, Pisces, the nebula star of the Archer, is culminating with Mercury. I'm going to pan in a little closer. There is a little bit of a reddish hue, or orange reddish hue. Getting fuzzy. Wow, just look at that. Moon is almost covered. And I did mention that Mars is at the apex of this. Actually, it is a grand mutable cross in Mars at 14 degrees Virgo. Of course, Virgo relating to service, to jobs, military service, police service, and also to a whole big string of accidents that is occurring with Mercury retrograde and going direct on the 13th, and it will square Mars again on December 31st. So take care, watch out, especially on the roadways. And as far as aviation, there's not a whole lot you can do except not fly at the wrong time. So at this degree, the sapient symbol is a family tree. So we're talking about relationship to the human family, relationship to your personal family. And my advice is to give them as much as you can, to love them, be there. Yeah, we're in for a long transit of Mars. I mentioned it would last until July the 3rd, 2012. And during this transit, Mars will retrograde on the 22nd of January. It will not turn direct till April 15th. And Mars in mutable Virgo is just a time to really learn how to discriminate fact from fiction. And it's also a time to channel that energy into something very, very positive. Obviously, Mercury being the ruler, communication and writing is favored by some. Or just plain service to your fellow man and woman. And I thought I would announce, not that all that many people will hear this, but for my own website, aquasoul.com, I'm changing the format and getting involved more in personal astrology, less in mundane, less references to politics. It's politics is a miasma. It's a mirage too. It's really not serving everybody, and at this point, I think everybody needs as much help as they can. The other thing I haven't made a big reference to, of course I do on my website, is that there will be Earth changes, and they could be pretty darn spectacular by December 31st. What that means, I don't know. You know, the West Coast has been due for a big one for a long time. Undoubtedly, within the next week, there'll probably be a 5 to a 6-point earthquake on the somewhere on the entire West Coast. I'm not a predictor when it comes to this stuff. I will say that this is pretty spectacular covering the moon now, so let me focus, zoom in, and even though I may not be capturing it on this video, it is a red, very red, blood red moon, and I've seen this phenomena before. A lot of it deals with the dust that's in the air that refracts the light.